Today, I want to break down my decision-making process on Convoy maps. I'm going to use the Psylocke game as an example here. When playing Convoy maps, there's a few different things you want to think about. First, what can you do to get someone onto the payload so that way it doesn't move anywhere? Second, what can you do to prevent the enemy team from getting any picks on your team? And number three, what can you do to secure picks on the enemy team that guarantees you control over the objective? And the way Convoy maps generally work is that the offensive team needs 2 team wipes in order to capture a point. So on defense, I'm asking myself, what can I do to run the clock out? What can I do to prevent them from securing any picks? First and foremost, because I'm playing Psylocke, I always like to take a high ground advantage and sort of peek at what their team comp is as they walk out the door so I know what to prepare myself for. But if you've been watching my channel for a while, you also know I'm going to go stand on the payload and keep it from moving anywhere. That way I can buy my team some time, but also be a little bit of a distraction. That being said, let's jump into it. Right there, as soon as I saw that my team had their attention, I jumped onto the payload and I didn't attack because I didn't want them to know that I was there. I want to keep control over this objective as long as possible, and because of the fact that I have such great mobility, I can be on the objective and get out safely still. Once the 2 supports realized what I was doing, they immediately turned to look at me. With 2 supports looking at me and not looking at their team, it means that I'm creating a distraction so that way the front line isn't getting healed. And if we go back and we take a look at what happened to Mr. Fantastic, you can see there from the Invisible Woman's perspective that because both Jeff and Invisible Woman turned to get me off of the payload, Mr. Fantastic didn't realize that his supports weren't there to properly heal him. Extremely mobile heroes are really good at creating distractions that allows your frontline to secure kills this way. This is also why you never want your 2 supports to be distracted by the same thing at once. This is also why it's really bad that if supports get dove, they need to heal each other because that means nobody else can get healed as well. In this scenario, if there is someone constantly doing this to your convoy, you want to put a DPS on the payload so that way they can get rid of them faster. And the moment that I saw that Mr. Fantastic got picked, I immediately went to offensive mode knowing that we had the advantage and now I can start dealing damage. You saw that once my team got the advantage, now my tanks could push up and take space, and then it could be their turn to touch the convoy to keep it from moving anywhere, buying us very valuable time. And remember, kills are great ways to guarantee time, but there are other ways to get the clock to run out that don't involve always securing kills. Being a distraction, stalling the convoy, and pulling out resources is an excellent way to help your team. But remember, the trick to doing that is that you have to get out alive at the same time. Because if your team gets a pick but you end up dying, that means you just trade and that's not helping. So be a nuisance, but make sure you have an escape plan. I immediately dashed up to try and see if I could get an angle on their backline, but also see if I could maybe touch the convoy again, and once Mr. Fantastic started to push me out of that area, I retreated. The moment I saw my mag, though, get 2 picks, it means that now we have to rush back in. We're going to try and walk them down and see if we can't secure some more kills while also controlling that convoy. You see me there always rotating around and trying to find an angle to try and apply damage and create a distraction, but even while all this is happening, I'm still trying to make sure that one of us is touching the convoy so that way it doesn't move anywhere. If my tanks are touching the convoy, that means I don't have to. But if my teammates see an opportunity to try and make a play and they leave the convoy, I'm going to ask myself, how can I sit there and touch the convoy, use that baby as cover, charge my ultimate, and also keep it from moving at the same time. But the moment that one of us dies, it means that they're probably going to secure a team fight win, and they're going to push that convoy much closer to the capture point. So on defense especially, and when we have control over the objective, my first goal is to prioritize survival and prioritize my team's survival. The moment I have my ult charged, I immediately want to see an opportunity in which I can use it. You want to use your ultimates frequently because if you're not using your ultimate, that means you're not charging an ultimate. You really don't want to waste them though, so you don't just want to throw them out there without thinking, but you do want to try and stagger your ultimates with your teammates as much as possible, using them as efficiently as possible so that way you can secure more time on the clock. Because if you have your ultimate, you're doing damage, you're doing healing, you're not charging, and odds are the enemies are charging their ultimates off of the damage that they're doing. So really keep an eye out for when you can use it. And there, I thought if I ulted onto the point that enough of their resources would be gone, that my team could apply enough pressure that we could get some kills on the tanks even, but it didn't work out that way, and I should have been more patient and try to find the rocket instead. At the very least though, we're still keeping the convoy from moving anywhere, and it's been a lot of time so far, and they haven't pushed the convoy very far. So even though it wasn't the best ultimate, with the way our team is playing, we're actually doing really well on time. Seeing that my team had lost the fight, I retreated out of there as quickly as possible to rejoin with my team. There's really no point in staggering yourself farther when you know the fight is over. So I went back to my support so they could charge their ult off of my missing health, and I immediately walked forward with my team. Seeing that my team was going to go one direction, instead of us all funneling into the same tunnel and taking damage at the same time, I opt to go a different route so that way I could get a safe angle in case I need to touch the point, but also so I'm not taking damage with my team. The last thing I want to do is make it easier for the enemy team to ult us all at the same time. After jumping out onto the point and touching it to make sure it stopped moving, once my tanks got out there and started touching the point for me, I no longer needed to be on the convoy. Knowing that I had seen Psylocke up top, I knew that she was going to try and flank and get a jump on my supports. And since my tanks are now touching the convoy and I don't need to be there, that's the next best place I want to be, because I want to prevent her from getting any picks on my healers, which would cause us to lose a team fight and for the enemy team to cap the objective. After forcing Psylocke away and having her dash back up and Mr. Fantastic coming and then attacking my supports, I immediately went into peel mode and tried to keep my supports alive. Hearing that Psylocke had cloaked and jumped back down, I heard her footsteps on the outside, so I targeted her as soon as she dropped back down, which led to a very clean kill, but unfortunately because of the fact that my supports were standing next to each other, it made it very easy for the thing to knock them both up at the same time. And after they were taken out, I tried to get away from Mr. Fantastic, and I thought I did, but then he ended up following me all the way up and around, and I got both me and my Punisher killed. And I know my Punisher died a lot this game, but honestly that one was probably my fault. My bad, Jaco. You saw there the enemy team had 2 team wipes, and because of that, they ended up capturing the first objective. And because they won, I knew that their team was going to push up and try and slow our progression down because they don't want us to touch that convoy. So my job right now is to do what I can to help push them back so that way we can get closer and closer to the convoy and keep it from moving anywhere. And I do so by applying pressure to their front line. Applying that pressure causes them to move backwards, but it also means that I get to charge my ultimate, so it's not a total loss. And right now, I'm just trying to think to myself, what can I do to get to that convoy to keep it from moving anywhere? Or what can I do to help my team bring the fight to the convoy? A kill will guarantee us control, but at the same time, we can get Hulk to just stall the convoy. That will work great too. You saw there that as I was moving up with my team, I noticed my tanks pushing forward and taking space and making their way to the convoy. I knew that they were going to try and touch the convoy and take the fight there, and I was looking around because I had told my team that Psylocke is about to ult. Once Psylocke ulted my backline and only secured a single pick, I decided to play safe and wait for my opportunity next. After waiting out the invis ult, I decided to dash into the backline and use my ultimate. Rocket used his ultimate, and sometimes that does counter Psylocke ult, but I got very lucky that I managed to attack him twice. We're trading a lot of kills here as a team, but at least we're taking the fight to the convoy to keep it from moving anywhere. After killing the rocket, I damaged the amplifier to help destroy it faster, so that way we can hopefully secure more picks or hopefully help keep my teammates alive, and I tried to get out of there, but I didn't do so soon enough and I ended up dying. Whenever you die in the game, it's not due to a lack of heals, it's usually due to a lack of positioning. My Luna tried to heal me at the last second, but I didn't give her enough time to be able to hit me. I have very low deaths in all of my games, and that's because of the fact that I depend more on my positioning and more on my own resources than I do non-stop constant healing. Even in these Celestial 1 lobbies, I'm still trying to make it as easy as possible on my supports to heal me. Seeing that Mr. Fantastic was making a play on my team, I didn't think that I could help much there, but I did notice that my Hulk was attacking the rocket, so I followed up on his attacks to help secure a kill on one of their supports. But also at the same time, I had the added bonus of the fact that we got to stop the convoy and keep it from moving anywhere. So even though Mr. Fantastic got a lot of kills, his team still has to come back and retake control over that convoy. This is how even in losing fights, you can buy your team some time by doing what you can to keep that convoy from moving anywhere. This is also the reason why people tell you if you're going to die, die on the objective. After getting out and seeing that the fight was lost, I immediately put myself into a position to wait for my team. I stood still to make sure that they couldn't hear my footsteps, but I was also scouting to see what the enemy was doing. And as my Punisher was coming back out of spawn to try and attack the people on the convoy, I saw Psylocke going in for the flank and I immediately went in there to deny that. You don't always have to be doing non-stop damage. Sometimes scouting and taking a look at what the enemy is doing and alerting your team to what is happening or preventing what's going to happen is just as valuable, if not more valuable at times, than doing damage. After applying damage to the backline, I immediately followed up to see if I couldn't make a play with Venom. But just as I go forward to apply pressure to the enemy team and then jump back to peel for my supports, the Thing had done the exact same thing and pushed me away and forced me off of his backline. And now that my element of surprise is ruined, I just need to prioritize staying alive. Doing what I can to try and take the fight to the convoy to keep it from moving anywhere, as the support ultimates are happening and basically canceling each other out, I immediately dash out to try and get a better position on the Rocket in the back. This forces Rocket into a bad position where he feels obligated to use his ult, and after he does that, because of the fact that I'm so far in their backline and so far into their blind spot, it gives me a great vantage point in which to apply damage to that Rocket ultimate that other people on my team can't, helping destroy it much quicker than if I was standing next to my team. After having destroyed the amplifier, I immediately went to try and secure a kill on the Rocket, but after putting myself in a position where I could see I was in the LOS of 3 people at once, it's not safe for me to be there, so I dash back to join up with my team, and hopefully take advantage of the Rocket ultimate. Because even though it might not be the best angle, with the help of the damage amplification from the Rocket ultimate, we might just be able to mow down their front line anyway. After having charged my ultimate, I decided to throw it out there to see if I could get a quick kill, and because of the fact that I rushed it so much, and I didn't think about pulling out Rocket's dashes beforehand, it ended up not getting any value. It's been really difficult for me to get any Psylocke games in lately, so I'm a little bit rusty on what I should be remembering to do before I ultimate. I probably could have taken the time to get into a better position beforehand.
That's better. You're mine.
I go to try to attack the rocket to either get a pick on him or push him closer into my team so hopefully my team can follow up on it. And when I see I'm unable to, I immediately jump to the res station because I know that's easy value right there. And once Rocket uses his ult, I immediately reposition myself so I can get a good angle on the amplifier to damage it out. And after that, now that I've realized that my team has died, I want to think to myself, how can I touch the convoy and buy time for hopefully maybe someone to come back or someone to make a play so that way we can win this fight. But no one's going to get back fast enough, so if I'm going to die, I might as well die on the objective. The enemy team pushed up really far, as you normally do once you capture the point, to try and slow my team's progression getting to the convoy. They immediately use ultimates to try and secure kills, and for me, my main focus is I want to get to that objective and keep it from moving anyway. So as I ignore the entire team fight and all the ultimates happening onto my side, I dash through and straight to Rocket to try and push him off the convoy. I know that I'm probably not going to kill Rocket, but my goal in this moment isn't to kill him. My goal is to just touch the convoy and keep it from moving anywhere. Because I know that Rocket alone is not going to be enough to get me off of this objective, and other members on his team are going to have to come back and contest me themselves, creating more space for my team to be able to walk forward. I don't always have to kill an enemy. Sometimes all I need to do is provide a good enough a distraction that it buys my team some time and space to work. And once I do, and now that they're coming back to try and contest me, I'm immediately going to try and get out alive. And with that time and space and distraction that I bought my team, it ended up securing 2 kills for us, and even though one of them was res, we still have the advantage right now, so it worked out in our favor.
Your feast has come to an end, enemy.
And there, as we were staggering the enemies, I managed to charge my ultimate in that time, so I immediately positioned myself into a better spot this time to where I could dash onto their backline and either push the supports into my team or have them walk into my ultimate. This helps us secure 2 kills, which basically means we get to clean up this fight for free. And even though we're so close to the enemy team spawn, they're going to have to rush, and when they rush, they're going to make mistakes. And you saw there how with the moment I charged my ultimate, I immediately looked for an opportunity to use it. A couple of my ultimates haven't been great this game, but that'll improve in time. I'm a little rusty on Psylocke since I don't get to play her as much this season. Because my one ultimate secured us quite a lot of time, it meant that we didn't have to stack ultimates in order to win a team fight. Because of that, the enemy team had to rush to the convoy, which allowed Venom to get a great ult off himself. And the entire time, I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to make sure one of us is touching the convoy to keep it from moving anywhere? What can I do to kill the people who are directly on the convoy now that it's running to overtime? And what can I do to prevent the enemy team from securing any kills on my team, such as shutting down flankers or shutting down the rocket amplifier? And because they were forced to rush, they made a lot more mistakes. Now on offense here, I need to think to myself, what route can I take that would allow my team to get a pick? Or how can I create a distraction that would allow my front line to get a pick? But also at the same time, I want to prioritize survival because of the fact that if I die and they need to wait for me to regroup, it'll take me about 20 to 30 seconds to properly regroup with them. Also, if I die first, that means that the enemy team might have an opportunity to stagger my team even worse. So you're always looking for those opportunities in which the enemy team has made a mistake because you want to prioritize survival because of the fact that if you are the first to die, you might start a domino effect which causes your team to stagger and lose a lot of time. Immediately after walking out, you see me look around to try and make sure no one's going to try and pull the same thing that I did. Before I just rush in and start attacking, I want to see what the enemy is doing and what their positioning is, especially because of the fact that the convoy is still moving up anyway. So while we take time for this convoy to move up to this first choke point where it's about to get stuck, I want to use this as an opportunity to try and get an idea of what I want to do. And as my teammates push and take one angle, I'm going to try and find another one. Now that I've got an idea of what the enemy is up to and where they're all stacking, I prioritize staying alive, and now that my supports have healed me back to full, I'm immediately going to try and find a route to take, but I also have to be careful because of the fact that I might bump into another DPS trying to do the same thing. I went to take an angle and was immediately denied by things, so I prioritized staying alive, and as I back up and Punisher had built the ult really fast off of the enemy tanks because there's no shield or no way to absorb his shots, he got his ult and immediately pushed the enemy team back. Because he pushed the enemy team back with his ultimate though, Mr. Fantastic was left in a really bad spot, which meant it was very easy to collapse on him and get that first pick. Now that we have the advantage, all we want to do is play it slow and use this advantage to try and see if we can't secure some more staggers. As my team was pushing up, they called out in the comms that Psylocke was still in the backside to keep an eye out for her. Now in this moment, now that we have control over the objective, I want to prevent them from securing any kills on my team, so my focus goes immediately to stopping Psylocke from making any plays. The best way to win and to stop your enemies isn't to try and out-aim them or out-reflex them, is to try and predict what they're going to do and shut down their plays ahead of time. And there you saw their tank Venom jump onto the convoy to keep it from moving anywhere, and me as a DPS, it's my job to do damage and to get that person off of the convoy. Jeff players have gotten incredibly creative about how they use their ultimates, and if they use it up on high ground, it means that you don't quite see the visual when it's underneath you if you're below them. So the Jeff was able to grab both me and the Punisher unsuspecting because we didn't see any visual. This is one of those learning moments where now, anytime I hear a Jeff, I'm going to be much more careful about my surroundings. You saw there once again, as the fight was happening on the point, there wasn't a whole lot that I could do, but because of the fact that I already had my ultimate charged up, I was immediately looking for an opportunity to use it. Jeff's base healing is a lot of healing. His base healing is pretty much the exact same as a Mantis ultimate. So seeing him positioned at the back, he made for an excellent opportunity for me to solo ult him and get a pick on him. Because it's much harder to kill Jeff than it is Invisible Woman, especially because Invisible Woman needs to play so much closer. So solo ulting him was the best play in order to try and make sure that we could win this team fight and push the objective to the capture point. Once the Punisher ulted, I knew that he was our win condition, and as the supports were healing him, I was immediately looking around because I didn't know where the Psylocke was. I know that as a Psylocke player myself, I would want to try and assassinate the Punisher while he is ulting. I didn't see that she had died in the kill feed, but I was still prepared nonetheless. And once I knew that he was safe, then I took an angle on the Strange to try and shoot him in the back, and also to try and secure a kill on the Rocket.
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
After we captured the point, I immediately pushed forward to try and push the enemy team back and try and slow the progression towards the convoy. This gave me a good opportunity to try and pressure them backwards, but also charge my ultimate at the same time. All I'm trying to do is apply pressure though and slow them down. I'm not trying to make a play that's too crazy and gets me killed. So I'm applying pressure, but I'm playing safe. We have control over the convoy right now. We don't want to lose it by dying.
Used a mind like yours, Bruce.
Hey, idiots!
Sayonara.
Once I apply that pressure and I have my ultimate, I immediately dash onto the Hela and use my ult because I didn't think that her bird form would be fast enough to get her out. Even though I made a mistake, I learned from it in this game and I adapt to it and use a better ultimate later. After being saved by Hulk, I immediately try to back out and get to safety, and I try to stand behind cover. But I wasn't mindful of my positioning well enough and I left myself wide open on the left-hand side for Hela to get a good pick on me. I should have known to hug closer to the wall. Seeing that Venom was on the convoy, I immediately targeted him to try and apply damage to push him off. We end up securing the kill. I dash forward to try and take a separate angle from my team and apply pressure to the group of enemies my team is fighting and get a very lucky pick. Now the enemy team is using support ultimates to try and buy more time, and as my team is pushing from one direction, I'm going to try and take another angle to try and flank and apply pressure for when that ultimate runs out. Because of the fact that Punisher is applying so much damage from the front, and I had taken that separate angle from the back, we were able to clean up the team fight pretty easily. I push forward to deny the enemy from coming to contest the objective, but the moment that my teammates tell me that Venom is on the point, I fall back so that way we can collectively focus damage on him so that way we can keep the convoy moving. One of the biggest problems I see, especially for DPS players, is that they have a one-track mind where they just keep continuously attacking the enemy backline. While that can be useful lots of times, this is still an objective-based game, and where you dish out damage matters. Yes, it would be great to get picks on the supports, but ultimately at the end of the day, what I want to make sure is happening is that that convoy is moving. As you saw with me on defense, I was constantly taking the fight to the convoy and keeping it from going anywhere despite the fact that I was only one person. And it worked so well on defense because of the fact that one of the other DPS was never really contesting me. Venom was trying his best to try and contest the objective, but instead of chasing kills, I was focusing my damage where it mattered. Seeing that the fight was over, I tried to be cheeky and stand still and maybe go for a back cap or have a really easy flank, but once I was spotted, I immediately got out and got to safety. Seeing that the convoy is so close to the capture point, all we need is one fight in order to win. So knowing I have my ultimate, I immediately go back into a position to try and get a good flank and use it properly this time. After looping around the back and seeing that Hela was attacking my team, she was the reason why that they were able to push my team off in the first place, so I go and I target her first. Learning from my mistake previously, I forced Hela's bird form out early, and the moment that she used it, I then dashed and used my ultimate on top of her head. The enemy Cloak and Dagger had used her ult to try and counter mine, but because of the fact that Hela was so far on the outside of it, I ended up securing the kill on her. Now this put my team in an advantage of a 6v5, and all we have to do during that time is just try and survive and wait out that Cloak and Dagger ultimate and then secure picks after that with our numbers advantage. It was unfortunate that our Punisher ended up getting blinded and killed during that, but he got the rocket res, so it's not so bad. Knowing that we already had the advantage, I saw Hulk immediately jump onto my backline and I immediately went into peel mode. We already have the numbers advantage. I don't need to worry about diving their backline. I need to make sure that my backline stays alive. So instead of trying to chase kills, I'm going to go peel from my backline. And just as we did before, Punisher was applying pressure from one direction and shooting everywhere down one way, and I immediately went to another off angle to try and deny them cover. Now that we've fully secured that team fight, we capture the second point easily. And because of the fact that on defense, I had immediately went to the convoy to keep it from moving at the gate, we don't have to push it very far now. Now we have a minute and a half, and all we need to do is win one team fight realistically in order to capture it.
A little help, please.
I tried to get an execute in the invis and it didn't quite work, but then I looped back around to try and continue the flank, and I don't know why I wasn't paying attention on my right side, but I left myself completely open, and that's why I died. If I wanted to attack from that angle, moving myself to the right a little bit better to where I was in Hella's blind spot would have been a lot better. Luckily, I got the res, so I was immediately back in the fight, and knowing that Hella was the one that secured the kill on me before, I immediately went back up there to try and deny her from doing the same thing. She was the one that was able to help her team defend from the second point, so I immediately went up there to try and apply pressure to make sure that she didn't do the same thing again. But luckily, because we had such a numbers advantage, taking the last point here was really easy. And that's my thought process and how I go about winning Convoy maps. You can see that I didn't get MVP, I didn't get the most finals, I didn't even get the most damage. But a lot of the actions I took, such as stalling the convoy out, pulling attention, pulling resources, peeling for my supports, and denying flanks, are ultimately what helped us win this game. Kills, damage, MVPs are all great, but winning is a lot better to me. I know that I can depend on my tanks to take space and absorb damage, I know I can rely on my other DPS to chase kills, and I know I can rely on my supports to heal me and want to heal my team. So as time has gone on, my playstyle has evolved to, instead of trying to be the one that's making all the plays, I'm trying to be the DPS that uses their damage in an intelligent way to best help enable his team. And I do so by constantly shifting my focus to where I'm needed most in that moment. If you hear your teammates use their ultimate, do your best to defend them. If you know the enemy team has divers, do your best to deny them from having any flanks in the first place. If you know that a tank is going to try and stall out the objective, do your best to use your damage to get them off of that objective. And once you do all of those things and you know your teammates are safe, there's a small window of opportunity in which you can try and take an angle and make a play. I will say that as my playstyle has changed, especially the higher that I climb, it tends to make my games as DPS a lot easier, but I am sometimes punished by the performance system. Still, at the same time, I'd rather take plus 18 than minus 18. Anyway, that's my breakdown on my decision making and how I go about winning Convoy maps. I hope you found it helpful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments.